Indeed. And that included me and you a little bit. Looking at it throughout the entirety of HGC China, we have no shame in saying from a view of the outside, it looked like China were maybe a little bit below Europe and Korea. However, we were wrong. Here is the bans, Battlefield and Warhead are banned starting on Spider Queen. Good setting ground map, I feel.
Yes.
I'm liking that. But I spoke to Maynard on the very first day of mid-season before the games even started. We all went to a non-brand name fast food restaurant, sat down and had some food, and I discussed with him which teams he was scared of, and he was like, we think Europe can beat Korea. We are concerned about China. Maybe not because they're better, but we don't know how their meta works, and metas can clash and have an advantage against the other. And that's exactly what we ended up seeing with eStar beating Dictators on the first week.
Yeah, and if you didn't really catch us last season in Phase 1, we saw a lot of crazy stuff coming out from the Chinese teams. We have seen Toad Sibo, we have seen Fury Varian, 100% win rate. Just wanted to remember that.
Until mid-season brawl.
Until mid-season brawl.
Unfortunately, they still tried. So props to SPT for that.
Exactly. And we even saw the infamous Stitcher Puterball into Sylvana's mind control combo by none other than CE, and they made it work like a charm. It's good.
I mean, yeah, but like we said, China is the land of China is the smackdown of Heroes of the Storm, and it's a land of opportunity for heroes that people don't pay attention to actually get seen, get noticed, and show that they are worth picking. Because China is willing to try them. For now, ladies and gentlemen, no more waiting. It is time for our very first draft of the new HGC China Phase 2, I believe this is.
Exactly. This is Phase 2, this is HGC China, and this is WKG against KT, the two new teams that have found their way into the Pro Division. Unfortunately, KISS is no longer in here, as well as X Team. They disbanded because they became the new eStar.
Indeed, that is a combination. They have they became the new eStar, and also a combination of a couple players who you may be familiar with. For now, Genji. He's saw everywhere. A big
he is everywhere
in mid-season brawl at the latter end of HGC China.
Yeah.
He's just a good hero, and as such, he is gone.
He's really, really good, and even China respects his prowess on the battlefield. Genji, he's just such a flexible hero. He fits into almost any team comp simply because his kit is so good. On some maps, like Tomb of Spider Queen, he's not necessarily as, commanding as on other maps, but still it is good enough, or he is good enough to be respected. And we see a gray main first pick. So far, this could be a European draft catcher.
This could be a mid-season brawl draft, this could be a European draft, this could be a Korean draft. So far this is normal, especially with the Uther ban. With Malfurion getting nerfed, there is literally no one who can currently hold a candle to Uther, because it turns out, if you give a support 75 armor on a ridiculously low cooldown, which doesn't allow you to pick CC, people are going to pick it. So Uther has actually been banned away.
Yeah, he's no longer in the game. And we touched upon some of the changes that the Malthael patch brings to the Nexus before. Malfurion, he has now received a rework. Some people say he's as good as before. Some people say he's a little bit weaker than before. Let's see what the Chinese pro teams make out of it. And that might actually open the door to new supports to be played a little bit more frequently. Maybe Lucio's going to come back. Maybe Morales, who's been a Chinese favorite in the first place already.
I know you've been doing a little bit of Hero League streaming. I have I have now done my placements. I have seen almost no Malfurion. I've seen like one Malfurion total. I haven't played Malfurion. I've gone to support several times, and it's always been Uther, because it turns out Hero League people don't ban Uther. Like, what? I'm so confused.
Exactly. And I also think, though, that there's a lot of, prejudices about Malfurion. I don't think he's as unplayable as many people think he is. The Silence from Twilight Dream is still a big playmaker. He's got some interesting talents, too, like the anti-healing reduction, the healing reduction on his Entangling Roots. And I think especially in competitive, where teams have more coordination to really pull that maneuver off, that could be quite interesting. And we talked about him. We talked about the Night Elf, and here he is, the new Malfurion for the very first time. I'm super hyped about that.
Indeed. So still valued above all the other supports with Uther banned out. It's cool to see. With KT starting off we didn't actually mention this, picking Tassadar this early. Now, this is kind of cool because it does allow you to react with either an Illidan comp or a Tracer comp or so many other things. And there's also the fact that you don't get Tassadar to buff the Greymane. And of course, he got buffed recently. He's still just pretty damn beastly on his own.
Yeah, I think this is probably the most viable and competitive Tassadar we've seen, not in terms of raw strength, because he used to be stronger, no doubt. But in my opinion, he's now in a perfectly balanced state between being good on the one hand, but also requiring good timing and skill on the other hand. Because if you mistime or misuse your shields on the wrong target at the right time, your target is, or your allied target is going to fall very rapidly.
Indeed, they are. So, Alarak. Dread and Grubby both expected him to have a little bit more attention at mid-season brawl. He got played only once or twice. Pierce China, though, are picking up and being like, maybe there's more to the High Lord than we believed. Speaking of which, Ariel being hovered as a ban would be very smart here. Valor's still open. Many options there. Who would combo well with the Ariel. Even Gul'dan is still available. Heroes that would just add some great wave clear.
Exactly, and looks like China did their homework. They know exactly that these double support hypercarry compositions are still a thing. They're still considered to be very, very good. Now, something I wanted to add about the Malfurion as well. Not only is the hero by himself still okay and acceptable, but look at the Stitches pick there as well. Something you can still pull off is the infamous Stitches Roots combo to really lock a target down and blow it to pieces very quickly. So I really, really like that WKG is sticking to the guns that have been doing great work at the midseason brawl as well. I just wanted to mention Dignitas. I mean, they've been playing that style for a long time and very successfully.
Indeed they have. So, here comes the Valor. What support is going to be brought in with this? Uther banned out, Malfurion banned out, not even picking it yet, leaving it till last. Very interesting style here by KT. But right now, this draft looks like it could be old-fashioned E-Stars. Let's see if they can empower their assassin player in the same way that the old E-Star would. Zing C, as the painting in a couple feet behind me right now would encourage.
Yeah, there's still the possibility of a Rehgar. I think Rehgar on Tumulus Brand Queen in general does very well, thanks to the quick rotations he can pull off, the wave clear from Lightning Bond.
Karazim for similar reasons in terms of the rotations and also the strong percentage damage against a high health tank like Stitches.
Yeah, if Stitches goes in a little bit too deep, isolates himself a little bit too much from the rest of his team, a well-executed 7-sided strike, as you said, can be absolutely lethal. And remember that China is a region filled with great Karazim players. Uncle G from SOA, we saw Aluful from CE as well, performing really, really admirably well on that hero, so it wouldn't surprise me to see everyone's favorite monk.
I would also enjoy this. Nazebo, apparently Malfurion is allowed.
What? They lied to us?
Malfurion's allowed, or we're about to have a redraft, okay?
Okay, let's look at the facial expressions here. KT seems a little bit confused.
Yeah.
Well,
no, I guess it's fine.
I guess it's fine.
So, supports. This is, once again, we did say that we like the Karazim, the Rehgar. Another option, a China special, if you will. The Morales.
Okay.
That's concerning. Okay.
Maybe
looks like that might be a mistake.
WKG didn't get the memo, it seems.
Yeah,
I actually okay, I was worried that I had to like change my overlay here as well, but I'm glad to say that we're still on the right track.
Okay.
I was a little bit irritated as well because none of the administrators or like none of the referees immediately jumped in and snatched the keyboard away and slapped it on the head. No, nothing nothing happened here of those sorts, but I think we're gonna have a redraft with the same picks, of course, except that Malthael. I would have loved to see him though.
I would have too, but at least now we know where Malthael stands in the draft. He stands at the point of being so good that he's picked before he's even allowed.
Yeah.
That's how good he is.
Well, maybe they just wanted to go double support, you know, and they mistook him for Oriel. You know, there's a lot of angels in the Nexus these days.
But Oriel was banned, so maybe they wanted Tyrael.
Maybe they wanted Tyrael. True.
Yeah. I will say, rip left-hand Probius. Poor guy.
Aw. You never know what temperature they've got in the studio.
So, yeah, nothing can Tatsu, is that how you pronounce it? Tatsu Monkey.
Yeah.
Nothing can stop death, except referees. Well played. I
Yeah.
love it. Not even bands can stop death. Yes, everyone's all in on this.
Now let's go on a quick excursion here, Tetcher. Speaking of Malthael, he is not allowed this week, but let's still theory craft a little bit. Like, what is your personal opinion on him? Do you think the moment he will be allowed, he's going to make a big impact, or do you think there's a little bit too much hype over him at the moment?
I think if you have a really strong team, a really good team with a lot of teamwork, who can play with the Malthael and around the Malthael really well, then he can be exceptionally good on close quarters maps with big, lovely corridors where you're forcing people to group up. He can create some incredible damage outputs and some incredible plays, and while keeping himself very sustained. Otherwise, I don't think that if you're not. In terms of Hero League, I wouldn't value him as much as a lot of Hero League people seem to. I think, once again, it does require a little bit of synergy to do so. However, he does have some very decent 1v1 potential.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He's a sick laner. If you ever played against Malthael in a lane, you will know how annoying and pesky his trade can be. And speaking of his trade, I think that makes him so ridiculously powerful on some of the battlegrounds that revolve around movable objectives like Punishers and Immortals, because you can damage those things so quickly because it also scales with their own max HP. It's just ridiculous. I would have loved to see Malthael in a competitive environment, but of course, guys, we're going to have to start this draft anew. All the heroes will be picked the same, except for that last pick for WKG. Maybe, maybe it's the nerfs. They're playing on the big stage here for the very first time in Phase 2 for HGC China, so maybe they got a little bit ahead of themselves.
Maybe. Well, we will find out soon as we are waiting for the draft to reappear. It happens.
Yeah.
The Chinese cast is looking as confused as we are right now.
It actually happened to me yesterday on Heroes Lounge when I played with my team there as well. Yeah.
Well, someone else picked Malthael and was
exactly.
like, nope, not allowed that yet. I heard you won your game yesterday. Well done.
We won the first one, but we lost the second one, so we couldn't make it to the grand final. But we almost made it there, and I'm very proud because I played with a couple of community members. We weren't really tryharding. We did not have scrim appointments like some of the other teams, so I'm very, very proud of how far we got. And I get to play Toadzibo. I represented China to the fullest.
Yeah, there we
100% win rate still in Heroes Lounge.
Fair enough. You gonna do that? You gonna do next season?
Most likely, yeah.
Fair enough. That sounds cool. I had a chat with the Heroes Lounge people at Mid-Season Brawl. They are super cool people. Maybe one of these days I will play in it as well.
Oh, I would love to. I would love to see you on a team, Thatcher.
Did you all see the tank player?
No.
Fair enough.
Sorry.
That's fine. Like I said, it is a maybe if I would anyway. So
would that be your main role? Tank, main warrior?
Tank, second tank, support, anything like that. Okay. Assassins very rarely.
Yeah, it's basically the same for me. Like, the only kinds of DPS I do want to play privately, like, if I'm really forced to and pressured to, then it would be the Nazeebo. That's my bait. That's the only one I can rely on. But other than that, it's mostly warriors and support. I'm
happy enough on main damage dealer. I pull a mainer sometimes, and I'm like, you know what? We don't need damage. I would like a Sylvanas, please. I do that quite a lot. But I prefer tank. I'm very aggressive. Here we go.
Hey,
we're back to where we are.
And we summoned him. I love it.
Aye.
Yes.
So, what is that last pick? Let us see for them.
It could still be a Tyrael, so maybe it was like an angel misclick after all. Let's see. I mean, Nazeebo always requires a little bit of protection, or should I say the team comp that plays Nazeebo needs to have some mechanisms that can stall out the game a little bit longer, and the protection that the Tyrael provides, the zoning, the disengage he provides with the Sanctification later and the Holy Ground at level 16 can really sometimes thwart an enemy engage. They go for the Sonya instead, a nice and stable solo laner. So yeah, I like it.
Indeed, it's a great wave clear, going to give them some good sustain until the late game. Not what we would have seen at Mid-Season Brawl. Mid-Season Brawl would have seen heroes maybe like Ragnaros for the defense, and there is the Rhaegar coming in. Sonya with a... where's the win rate? 58% win rate. A lot of that's
pretty
probably
impressive,
SCT.
And There are a couple of counters with Sonya on the side of KT. They do have the Anub, double stun plus Cocoon, the Haka, Licky Sticky, exactly. Even a nicely placed force wall can oftentimes really mess with Sonya's movement because she's so dependent on moving freely while spinning and leeching XP.
Don't overestimate the Rain of Vengeance. Underestimate the Rain of Vengeance
Absolutely.
as well. Very low cooldown CC with on a
I
very
watched
high
HGC
micro
EU
hero.
yesterday, and I saw what Nuruk's Rain of Vengeance were able to do. Holy moly!
I don't know if you saw the video on Reddit of Maina just blowing up, Tassadar. It just had the perfect description. It was so good. It was just like, don't mind me, I'm just going to blow up your Tassadar and no one's even going to see it. And it was true. Casters didn't notice it. The players played as if it didn't even happen. It was just, nope, Tass has gone now.
It was a fantastic series. I'm still very, very impressed by Team Liquid. Nobody knew how strong they were, how they would best against Dignitas. Yeah, super well done. But for now, let's focus on the Chinese HGC, the two new and upcoming stars, potentially, in the league. We have high hopes for WKG and KT. Last season, last split, we had RPG coming into the league, performing extremely well. So well, in fact, that they became Tetra's most favorite team. Let's see if we can discover one of those diamonds in the rough here between the two new teams here.
Let us hope so, as we are currently loading in, so we'll be getting started very shortly. Our first map, like we said, Tomb of the Spider Queen. Yeah. Great map for long games, or if one team's able to play exceptionally well, incredibly short games.
Yeah, Tomb of the Spider Queen, you basically don't know what to expect. You have incredibly long games in there if both teams are facing each other at the same power level, but you can also have very short games if one team gets an early pain with the White Weavers, snowball from there, get a couple of forts early on, and then you can really just dominate the map by keeping the lanes in check. And once you make sure that the enemies can never really reach the turn-in points anymore, you can just snowball from there, take mercenary camps, maybe take an early boss, and just keep on hammering on the enemy team's base. But the first game, the first best of two in phase 2 for HGC China is about to begin, Tetra, and I couldn't be more excited. So excited the music even gets a little bit louder as well.
Indeed, and also Meadeaver. It's nice to see that. Oh,
Swagoo. Is that some?
I think this is the new intro video.
Oh.
Nice.
Oh, that was awesome.
I love it. God, China just has some of the coolest videos. So, ladies and gentlemen, for now, welcome to HGC China Phase 2, week number 1, game number 1. On the left-hand side in the blue is WKG with Redrafting playing the Grey Maid Daluhu. This is going to suck. New names to learn. Oh, God. Yeah, new names to learn. Hard.
Okay, let's see if I can do it. We've got KT in the reds. We have Dai on that Rhaegar, Neptune on Dehaka, Fury on Tassadar, Sink on Vala, and Butcher, J-How's favorite player, I can tell already, on the Anubarak. That was a little bit easier, I gotta admit. Yeah.
Yeah, either way, one of them even actually just has a fully Chinese name. That's even more difficult. For now, though, we are moving in. First Stitches hook, not able to land. It's going to be a slam build Stitches, and what looks like going with the War Paint on Sonya. So a little bit more sustain in lane. Could be followed up with a follow-through. Anubarak, remember, mostly resistant to spell damage, so treating that Sonya as a melee assassin as opposed to the melee mage that a lot of people play her as these days.
And I'm just so glad to see that China finally adapted to the global meta, if you will, with Anubarak as one of the pillars in their team composition, because China has been for oh, never mind. We see a nice hook followed up by a zombie ball, and I think that might be first blood. Nope. Oh,
yeah, cocktail.
Very nicely done. But back to the point I was trying to establish there. Anubarak, for the longest part, had been ignored in China altogether. In phase 1, we haven't really seen him a lot, and when he was picked Tetra, he didn't really perform so well.
No, very true. We'll have to see if that changes this time. But yeah. The Anub, he's just too good to miss up at this point. Cocoon, such a powerful ability.
Wow!
But the hook landed again, the root just short this time.
Yeah.
And Vala able to micro to freedom.
Yeah, really nice vault escape there by C-Ink, but I gotta give credit to Zero here already, playing a fantastic Stitches. The accuracy so far on point. Unfortunately, the Malfurion roots were a little bit too shortly placed. If they had been placed a little bit more precisely, that would have been a kill for sure. But C-Ink, man, he on the Vala seems to be the priority target, and rightfully so. Now, Sonya taking a lot of damage in that bottom lane. We see a very unusual split here. We see 2 people in the middle, 2 people in the bottom, instead of the classic 4-man rotations we are used to seeing on Tomb of Spider Queen all the time.
Indeed, and that has already led to a kill, potentially a second one here. The Borrow for Freedom cocktail, not this time. They are not prepared. But like we said, 1 kill already going over to WKG. Unfortunately, this appears to be a kind of sacrifice to the bottom lane here, where Sonya has been pushed all the way up, losing both towers already.
Is that a win percentage, by the way, when those heroes are picked together? Or
maybe. That would make sense. That's a cool graphic.
Yeah. That's really, really cool. Well, so we don't really know. I'm actually going to ask production what these graphics mean. It could be also like hook and root accuracy or something like that. But if it is, then kudos to the Chinese production team once again. They are spoiling us with some good insights.
Indeed. So once again, Sonya is continuing down this auto-attack based build with the focused attacks, adding a little bit more damage output for the auto-attack style to try and burn through that Nubrak without having to rely on the spells with the crazy amount of CC that the enemy team is offering. KT could interrupt that whirlwind repeatedly, so we'll see how that continues for them.
And you just saw how Zero from WKG threw down a hook, and immediately there was the follow-up root combination, attempted combination. So that's really, really important to keep in mind, guys. Sometimes it might look a little bit goofy on camera when the roots and the hooks don't really connect to each other at all, but you need to be doing that in order to guarantee a potential kill. So the support player immediately has to throw down the roots, whether the hook landing or not. Very, very important to keep in mind.
Indeed. Always trust your teammate. It's like the old-fashioned Stitches Tirana combo.
You
drop your stun, whether you know if Stitches hit or not, just to make sure you get the timing correct. So, we're seeing a couple of the gems being turned in here for WKG.
The bottom fort is down already.
Racing towards their first turn in. Only 2 needed for KT, and yeah, bottom 4 already taken down.
Yeah, and I think WKG, they're trying too hard to get those early picks that they're kind of neglecting the macro game. They're not really soaking well enough. They're not really defending their buildings well enough. And that really shows in the overall XP count. And they also didn't really get enough gems into pay. Now, another attempted Roots Hook combo, but once again, not landing. And it is KT who have unleashed the first Web Weaver wave. So this might snowball really, really hard for the red team.
And as such, they are attempting to push up their lanes as much as possible, put some pressure onto WKG and try and take down some structures, get some more XP. With bot lane already pushed up, though, they are leaving that to just see if it can get to tier 2. His hooks landed the cleanse, though. They're used by Rhaegar, keeping Valor safe as they move in, although Rhaegar very nearly getting killed off, meets Sonya and gets chunked down. But now WKG still on the defense, beginning to clear up this mid Web Weaver. Now they're splitting up into the different lanes. Sonya heading down to deal with the bottom Web Weaver, top Web Weaver being rotated up by 3 members while Nazeebo sieges from afar.
So well played by Dai here, who basically prevented Vala from dying single-handedly using his cleanse in time on the Rhaegar. And that is just something that we also need to look out for. The cleanses are the best tool to get rid of those pick comms with the Stitches. Now, unfortunately, the building is pretty good at saving people as well. Zero should have probably worked a little bit more in his angle there. But now Sonya in trouble, getting rotated and ganked on, and down she goes, dropping a lot of gems.
Yeah, Sonya, she's taken a poison spear here, so more damage output. Not great for escape here or anything like that. She doesn't have a huge amount of times on that level, to be fair. That would help her. Stitch is focused down as well, added to the list. And KT, these rotations, they have shown up.
And you basically saw how quick KT are when it comes to rotating around the map. And Tomb of Spider Queen is a rotation-heavy map. It's one of the smaller battlegrounds out there. So if you know how to move around it, you can land those deadly ganks as well. And something to also touch upon is that Dahaka, thanks to his recent rework and the so-called race car Dahaka build, because of his questing talent at level 1, he's just gotten so much better on this map because he can rotate much more quickly whenever he enters a brush. And that used to be one of his weaknesses on this map, that you couldn't really use his global mobility to the fullest, and these weaknesses now have gone, and KT plays a formidable Dehaka comp so far.
Yes, they do. It's working very well. And in fact, they've gone for the reduced cooldown on the stun, on the drags. Ooh, nice cleanse again. Not sure if that actually hit, but either way, the reaction time
Better be safe than sorry, absolutely.
T-Die is so good. But yeah, Dehaka, he's not only gone for the reduced stun cooldown on level 7, has also gone for isolation. So he's looking to be getting into that backline to maybe ruin Malfurion or ruin Nazeebo.
And speaking of Nazeebo, I mean, you're aiming to stall out the game a little bit more, to maybe make it to level 20 as well, farming enough stacks on the Voodoo Ritual. But if you're falling behind by 2 levels while rocking that Nazeebo comp who thrives in the later stages of the game, you are kind of in trouble. I mean, don't get me wrong, WKG haven't really lost a single keep yet. They still have time to stabilize. One good team fight, one good pick with the Stitches is all they need. But this early game certainly doesn't look very good for them.
The Nazeebo comps are not meant to win the early game. They are meant to survive the early game without too many significant losses. Stitches focused down. Speaking of significant losses, this time he's tanking through, and the feral lunge from the Rhaegar is enough to finish off the kill.
You know what the problem was here, Tetcher? No cleanse of Malfurion. That is one of the biggest weaknesses that the rework posed for him, and that's why a lot of people don't like him as much anymore. And KT, they're just abusing their heroic abilities, their level 10 advantage to the fullest.
Nazeebo chased off. Cocoon is surrounded.
Oh,
they get the drag, and Malfurion, even with cleanse, he would not have saved himself from that fate.
No, and even more gems are being dropped for WKG right now, and they really needed one of those turn-ins to maybe get a couple of towers, a couple of forts themselves to balance out the deficit in global XP they're currently suffering from, but none of this is going to happen anytime soon. They can land their picks accordingly. The cleanses from KT have always been on point, and you can really see how they're going full Hail Mary now. With the leap from Sonya, the Twilight Dream, they're just trying to blow up people, and that's their only way of potentially staying in the game.
Kendrick, speaking of staying in the game, could you say comeback potential? Because that is a leap Sonya.
Yeah.
Leap and the Twilight Dream gives sway to a potentially decent wombo combo on a very squishy backline. Rhaegar has no ancestral healing for himself, will be very reliant on Tassadar. If Valor or Rhaegar are engaged on, the idea will be to blow them up before ancestral can land, or to kill off Rhaegar instead.
And this is exactly one of those situations where a well-timed gank by WKG could do a lot of damage, because KT, they're getting extremely reckless here, starting a boss early, but look at that focus fire and Stitches. Is he gonna fall?
He was dragged through the entire
one
team.
for one.
File able to get crazy value. Cocoon is broken. It's a 1-for-1. Stitches for a noob. Can they turn it? Ancestral lands on Valor, though. That's a disaster for WKG as Sonya is chased down, trying to split the freedom. They're miles away from their healer, but she's barely able to escape.
Okay, so it was a 1-for-1 trade. However, WKG was successful at preventing KT from getting the boss. Also keep in mind that if you trade evenly on kills at this stage of the game, with 2 levels being behind, you're going to get more value for your kill. You're going to get more XP. So every kill you get without losing too much yourselves is going to give you more XP to come back.
So
that is probably
here. That's damage?
No, that would be a little bit low, wouldn't it?
Maybe XP?
6.1k. It's probably XP, yeah. Huh. Interesting.
But, I don't know. I wish we could read Chinese, but unfortunately,
maybe someone in our Twitch chat can translate it for us if we've got some Chinese
someone else's
viewers.
cool experience. We actually have one of the new mounts here.
There we go.
The Whimsyshire Cloud. It's glorious. XP. 2 people said XP. We're assuming XP.
There we go.
So as we see KT moving on to their Bruiser camp, going to take that down, put some pressure onto the mid lane, which has already been slightly opened up. They were able to put some pressure on earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. The Happy Cloud, by the way, being the only one that is still missing in my collection. I was fortunate enough to get the other ones, in fact, already. Now, let's see. KT, they played an extremely good early game, but they need to close out the game before level 20. So there's a little bit of a ticking time bomb against them, and it looks like WKG is slowly but surely trying to stabilize here. They are almost at level 13, almost closed out the talent disadvantage they were suffering from earlier. Are they going for a hook still? Yes, they are, but no follow-up this time. Are they trying again?
They're trying again, and this time they are the enemy team is near their level 13s. Now this actually might work in favor. They're timing it so that WKG will be soaking, and that might give them enough time. And WKG,
now they're trying to turn in.
Don't even go to the boss. They're going to attempt a turn in. And even if they had gone to the boss, they wouldn't have been in time. They maybe could have looked for kills. So yeah, well timed by KT this time, using the enemy attempting to gain an advantage as their own.
Exactly. That was really, really well timed by KT this time around. Not only did they know that they were defending the mercenaries in the middle, but they also expected them to try and pay in order to catch up in terms of building process. So extremely smartly played here by KT. Now, WKG, they need to defend the boss in the top lane. Looks like we're going to have a quick pause here. Hopefully nothing too major.
Indeed. Hopefully nothing significant. But either way, currently, KT very far ahead. They have full control over the map. They were actually turning in a couple of their own gems, I believe, as we hit the pause there. So they currently have been in control for this entire game. But like we said, the last couple fights haven't gone too terribly for WKG. And remember, the longer this goes on, as long as WKG can survive, then Nazebo could be their saving grace for the late game.
Yeah.
Assuming they can get to level 20.
And Tomb of the Spider Queen is just so good for Nazebo comms for that very exact reason you mentioned there. Not only can you stall out games very long, but also, even if you end up losing one keep, for example, in the top lane or the bottom lane, due to the size of the map and the way it's designed, you can normally rotate fast enough to always destroy catapults in time. So even if you end up losing a keep, as long as you keep the other two safe or keep the other two safe, you can always stabilize and you can always come back. So I wouldn't count out WKG by any means. They have shown moments of brilliance here with some good early game hooks. I'm actually going to dive right back into the action here. But KT, on the other hand, they're also playing a very explosive style with tons of crowd control, isolation on Dahaka, and the stuns from Anubarak. And so far, Tetra, I think KT is looking very, very good, in my opinion.
They really are. They're looking very solid, but WKG were able to clear up that boss before too much damage was done. They lost some tier 2 towers, etc., but the keep remains undamaged, so they are at least in a decently defendable position as they begin to wrap around. Remember, Leap Sonya, they have great engage potential. They have the Stitches hook. Not go for a fishing hook. This will be a full slam build here.
And I like this choice, because whenever you have another frontliner next to you, Sonya in that case, you could normally afford to go for a more DPS-oriented slam build, because normally you're going to have one person to sort of catch the enemy team's attraction as well. Sonya is going to draw a little bit of focus fire onto herself. So, especially since JPL and Dignitas really made this style popular, more and more teams seem to be copying it, and I like it quite a bit, because it deals an absurd amount of damage over time.
Indeed. This is not to say that you sometimes, in my opinion, I believe... Oh, hang on. Isolation. He's already popped the bile, though. So he's got the speed boost. Getting focused down is not enough. And Stitches gets taken out.
And he also used the Putrid Bile, so he's going to have a full cooldown on that once he comes back. And, of course, losing your main frontliner, using your main tank when the Web Weavers are about to push in, is probably one of the worst things that could happen to you as a team on Tomb of the Spider Queen. And keep in mind, the Golem boss, the boss previously destroyed the tower line here, so this Web Weaver wave is going to threaten... Oh my god, another tongue!
Oh, Nazebo, he is going to get focused down. He drops the Ice Block to try and keep himself alive. Anoob's right next to him, but he's able to get away.
Oh, he gets two!
The kill.
He gets two with that beautiful burrow charge. Anubarak goes in again, and of course the Epicenter helps him greatly at hitting and knocking down those targets. Beautifully done here. And KT, they're on the warpath. They're trying to destroy the enemy's core here right now. With that Wave Viewer helping out, the minions joining the fray as well. And this is GG, it seems, for KT. They just looked very, very dominant, and they played one hell of a first game in HGC China Phase 2.
Yes, they did. Well played by KT. First game goes over to them. Remember, these are a 2-game set.
Yeah.
So basically, this can now only be a tie or a win for KT. And I just saw what the first word was, but I couldn't read it in time. It says what their actual team name stands for underneath the rest of their name.
KT, that is?
Yeah.
Ah, damn it.
Let's maybe see a close-up of their t-shirts.
Yeah.
It's something top. The T stands for top. I didn't see what the K stood for.
What could it be? don't know. We're gonna try to
Indeed.
just get a closer look onto their polo shirts the next time. But Thatcher, that was the first game for Phase 2 of HGC China. KT coming out strong here. And as you said, every win matters, probably even more than in the Phase 1, because one victory and you get 3 points, whereas one loss and you can only get 1 point at the max. So winning every map is going to be so crucial.